James Walker stepped off the hover tram and stared at the glowing sign above the alien restaurant. It read in 6 different languages. The Forbidden Taste, where legends are served. He had heard about this place from a drunk trader back at the spaceport. They said it served the rarest dishes in the galaxy, food that no human had ever tasted before. He licked his lips. He was hungry, but more than that, he was curious. Earth food was boring compared to what the galaxy had to offer. And today he wanted to try something wild. The host, a thin alien with skin like melted glass, greeted him at the door. Its voice sounded like water dripping into a cave. "Human, welcome. A single seat?" "Yes." James nodded, looking around at the dimly lit interior. Each table had curtains around it. Privacy, mystery. The air smelled spicy and sweet, nothing like Earth. He was taken to a private booth. The menu had no pictures, just names. Flame-drenched nebula steak. Frozen starworm. Royal Crimson Rare. That last one had 3 warning symbols next to it. James pointed. "What's this one?" The host's eyes glowed faintly. "It is the rarest. Forbidden in 5 systems. Only 1 served per day." "Is it meat?" The alien paused. "It is alive when delivered. Prepared instantly. Very fresh." James grinned. "I'll take it." 10 minutes passed. Then 15. James played with the strange glowing stones on the table, wondering what exactly was coming. He imagined something exotic. Maybe a beast from a lava planet, or a deep-sea monster sliced thin. But then the curtains opened. 2 aliens carried in a large silver dome tray and placed it before him. Slowly, one lifted the lid. James froze. It wasn't a steak. It wasn't meat. It was a girl. She looked about his age, maybe younger. Her skin shimmered in soft pink and violet hues. Her ears were long and tipped with silver. Her large purple eyes blinked as she sat curled on the silver plate, completely still but not frightened. No chains, no panic. Just stillness. James stood up. "What the hell is this?" The host stepped forward. "You ordered the Royal Crimson. Rare. She is pure blood Valari. Extremely rare, fresh, never served twice." James backed away. "I thought it was food." "She is. According to the laws of this sector, living delicacies are legal. We do not kill, we serve raw." He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're telling me she's meant to be eaten?" "She is meant to be chosen," the host said softly. "Many send her back. Some take her." Before James could respond, the girl spoke in perfect English. "Please," she said softly, "if you don't want me, just ask them to let me go, but if you want to save me, take me away, before they return." James stared. "Why would I trust you?" Her voice trembled. "Because this is my 5th serving. The others, they didn't choose. They watched." James's fists clenched. He had traveled far and seen many things. But this was sick. The host was still watching. "Would you like to continue, human?" James looked into the alien girl's eyes. She wasn't scared. She was ready. Ready for what? To die? To be claimed? Or to run? Before he could answer, a soft beep came from the ceiling. A red dot appeared on James's shoulder. He looked up. A scanner. They were watching him, recording his choice, tracking him. He had only seconds to decide. He reached forward, not with a knife or fork, but with his hand. "Come with me," he whispered. The girl slid off the tray without hesitation and took his hand. An alarm started to ring somewhere deep inside the kitchen. The curtains flew open. A server dropped a bottle. Someone screamed, but James didn't stop. Holding her tight, he ran. James didn't stop running until they reached the back door of the restaurant. It slammed shut behind him, and the sound of alarms faded into the night. The alien girl held onto his hand tightly, barefoot and trembling, but still silent. They ducked behind some crates near a garbage chute. James leaned against the cold metal and tried to catch his breath. "What the hell just happened?" he asked her. "What were they going to do to you?" She looked at him with those deep violet eyes. "I told you. I was not food. I was a product." "A product?" he repeated. She nodded slowly. "I was raised in the shadows of Zelvora. I'm part of a secret breed, created by the black market. They feed the elite their fantasies. I wasn't the first, and I won't be the last." James felt a chill. "You were bred for this?" "I was made to be beautiful, rare and silent, but I learned to speak by listening to humans in the kitchen." She looked away, ashamed. "I wasn't supposed to speak your language. That's why they were angry the last time I said a word." James clenched his jaw. "You're not a thing. You're alive." "Not to them," she whispered. Suddenly a red light scanned over them. A hovering eye drone floated above, blinking and beeping. James ducked too late. The drone locked on. "Target found. Transmitting coordinates." Valara's face turned pale. "They're coming." James cursed under his breath and looked around. There was only one way out. Through the garbage chute. He didn't hesitate. "Come on." He grabbed Valara and they both dived into the darkness of the chute. They slid down a slimy metal tube, twisting and turning, until they landed hard on a pile of alien food waste. It smelled horrible. Valara coughed. "We're in the lower tunnels." James looked up. "You've been down here before?" She nodded. "The first time I tried to run, I almost made it, but they caught me. They put me back on the tray the next week." James stared at her. "How are you still alive?" "Because no one chose me." Her words hit hard. He realized now, this whole thing was a test. Whoever ordered the Royal Crimson Rare was being watched. If the customer showed cruelty or desire, they got something dark. If they showed kindness, yeah, they were marked. Like him. James checked his arm. There was a small blinking mark just under the skin. The scanner had tagged him. "They'll be tracking me now," he said. Valara nodded. "You're not just a customer anymore. You're a thief, a traitor, and maybe a target." James grinned bitterly. "Great. All I wanted was a steak." Valara gave him a faint smile. "You got me instead." He helped her up and looked around. The tunnels stretched into the dark. Pipes dripped, shadows moved. Somewhere above them, loud footsteps echoed. "Where do these tunnels lead?" "To the undermarket," Valara said, "where the real trade happens." "You're saying there's more of this?" She looked at him. "You've seen the restaurant. That was just a taste." They started walking, sticking to the shadows. Valara led the way this time. She moved like she had done it before. James followed, still trying to wrap his head around everything. As they walked, she spoke again. "They don't sell food. They sell beings, rare species, genetic experiments, clones, slaves. I was bred because my kind has a gift." "What kind of gift?" Valara paused. "We can bond. Bond. Physically, mentally, spiritually. Once we touch someone we trust, something awakens inside us. A mark. A link." James frowned. "What kind of link?" She stopped walking. Slowly, she turned and lifted her arm. A faint, glowing line had started to appear on her wrist. It pulsed in soft red light like a living tattoo. "You touched me willingly," she said. "Now, it's begun." "What's begun?" She looked straight into his eyes. "The bond." James took a step back. "What does that mean?" "It means I can't be sold anymore. I belong to you." A sudden blast shook the tunnel. The wall behind them exploded as 3 armored bounty hunters dropped through the smoke, weapons drawn. "Target acquired," one of them shouted. James grabbed Valara and ran. This wasn't just about escaping anymore, this was about surviving. The explosion shook the tunnel. Dust fell from the pipes above. Red emergency lights flickered on. James covered Valara with his body as debris rained down around them. Behind the smoke, 3 alien bounty hunters stepped forward. Tall, armored, and moving with perfect synchronization. Their glowing visors locked onto Valara. Royal target located. Human abductor confirmed. James pulled her up. Run! They bolted into the deeper tunnels, feet splashing through shallow, dirty water. The tunnel sloped down and twisted sharply, as if it had never been meant for humans. Strange meat hooks hung from the ceiling. The air grew colder with every step. Valara's voice trembled. This way leads to the old slaughterhouse. They stopped using it years ago. Too many accidents. Great, James muttered. Can't wait to meet whatever's left behind. Suddenly a blaster shot burned past his ear and hit a metal pipe, spraying steam everywhere. One of the bounty hunters was close, too close. James turned a corner and slammed his palm on a rusty door panel. It didn't open. Let me, Valara said, pressing two of her fingers into a strange symbol beside the panel. The door clicked open with a loud hiss. They slipped inside, and the heavy door slammed shut behind them. Darkness. Total silence. James pulled out a small flashlight from his belt. The beam cut through the pitch black and lit up something horrifying. Meat. Rows of it. Hanging. Dripping. Moving. But it wasn't just dead animals. They were people. Suspended. Preserved. Mutated. James felt his stomach twist. What is this place? He whispered. Valara's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. This was where they tested failed products, creatures not perfect enough to serve. They were kept here, in case their parts were useful. Suddenly, one of the bodies twitched. James aimed his light and saw a creature, half human, half insect, its eyes fluttering open. It tried to speak, but only a wheeze came out. Valara grabbed his hand. We have to go. They're still alive and but broken. A loud clang echoed from behind. The hunters had reached the other side of the door. We don't have much time. They ran deeper into the tunnels, twisting through rusted machinery and conveyor belts. Somewhere in the distance, alarms were ringing again. Then James spotted something strange, a symbol painted on the wall, a red spiral with a mark through the center. He pointed. You've seen that before? Valara stared at it. Yes. That's the mark of the bonded path. What's that? She hesitated. It's an escape route, but only for bonded pairs. If they sense we are truly linked, it might open. Sense? You mean it's alive? Everything here was made with biotech, she said. Even the walls can feel. James looked down at the symbol. So what do we do? Touch it, she said. Together. Their fingers pressed against the spiral. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the wall breathed. It opened slowly like a mouth, revealing a glowing hallway made of red crystal. James stared. Well, that's new. But just before they stepped through, one of the bounty hunters dropped from above, crashing between them. James was thrown backward. Valara screamed as the hunter grabbed her by the neck. Bonded or not, the hunter said in a deep robotic voice, she belongs to the syndicate. James stood up, grabbed a broken pipe from the ground and swung it hard. It slammed into the hunter's back, making sparks fly, but the armor held. The hunter threw Valara down and turned on James. James raised the pipe again. Come on, tin can. But then Valara shouted something in her native tongue. Strange and sharp. The hunter froze. The red bond on Valara's wrist flared up like fire. And then, so did James's wrist. The hunter looked at both of them and stepped back. Confirmed. Royal bond activated. Target now protected by law. It turned away and vanished into the darkness. James blinked. What just happened? Valara's breathing slowed. They can't harm a bonded pair. Not directly. It's written in the old codes. James looked down at the glowing mark on his skin. So now we're legally connected? She nodded. And very, very hunted. He helped her through the red hallway. The walls closed behind them, sealing the path. Where does this lead? James asked. Valara looked up with a mix of fear and hope. To the surface. and to the ones who made me. The glowing red crystal tunnel slowly faded into stone and roots as James and Valara emerged into a hidden cave system. The walls pulsed, faintly with a heartbeat-like rhythm. It didn't feel like a cave, it felt alive. James looked around, wiping sweat from his face. Where are we? Valara walked ahead, barefoot, her skin glowing faintly. This is the root chamber. It's part of the original world, older than any building above us. My kind was born here, long before we were hunted. James followed, carefully watching the strange symbols carved into the walls. They looked like spiral stars and hands reaching out. Valara placed her palm on one. The wall lit up. I thought your species was extinct, James said. Valara turned slowly. We are supposed to be. That's what the galaxy was told, but one bloodline survived. Mine. James blinked. You're saying you're the last? She nodded. The last pure Valari. That's why they bred me in secret. I wasn't born in a family. I was grown in a pod, designed to serve. But something went wrong. James stepped closer. What went wrong? I remembered, she said quietly. I remembered things I was never taught, places I never visited, voices I never heard. She looked at him now, her eyes glowing deeper. My people weren't pets, we were protectors, keepers of life bonds. We were the first race to link with others, not for control, but for connection, love, healing, strength. James was silent. Valara reached out. When I touched you, I knew. The bond chose you. But why me? He asked. I'm just some hungry guy who wanted a weird steak. Valara smiled softly. Maybe that's why. You weren't looking for power or ownership. You acted from instinct. You saw me as a person. The red bond mark on both their wrists pulsed again, brighter this time. The cave responded, glowing, warmly. Only a true bond awakens this place, Valara whispered. And now, it sees you as one of us. Suddenly the ground shook. The light dimmed. Something had entered the cave system. James turned sharply. They followed us. Valara's eyes narrowed. Then we have little time. She led him to a stone altar in the center of the chamber. Strange crystal petals floated in the air around it. She stepped onto the platform and gestured for him to join. What is this? James asked. She spoke with calm seriousness. It's called the heart mirror. If you step on it with me, it will show us the truth of our bond and give us the strength we need to face what's coming. James looked at the crystals. They were humming now. Alive. Is this safe? No, Valara said honestly. But it is real. James stepped up beside her. The moment both their feet touched the altar, everything changed. Light exploded around them. Time stopped. James felt like he was floating in stars. All sound disappeared. His body faded, but his thoughts remained. Suddenly he saw flashes. Valara, as a child growing in a tank, screaming in silence. Valara, on the silver plate, staring at rich aliens with dead eyes. Valara watching a man lift a fork, and then lowering it, again and again, until him. Then his memories flashed. His lonely travels. His lost brother. The empty feeling every time he left a planet behind. They weren't just seeing each other's memories, they were sharing pain. When James opened his eyes again, tears were running down his face. Valara was holding his hand. The bond symbol on their wrists had turned gold. The bond is complete, she whispered. We're linked now, not just by touch, but by truth. Before James could respond, the crystal walls behind them exploded. A tall figure stepped through. Unlike the bounty hunters from before, this one wore a crown of steel and eyes like molten fire. Valara froze. Who is that? James asked. Her voice trembled. My creator. The figure spoke in a cold, echoing voice. You were never meant to awaken the bond. You were meant to serve. But now, you are broken. Valara stepped in front of James. I am not broken. I am free. The figure raised a hand and the chamber trembled. James stepped forward. Then you'll have to go through both of us. The ancient crystal chamber shook with power. The tall armored figure, the one Valara had called her creator, stood like a god among the rubble. His metal crown glowed red. His eyes didn't blink. His voice didn't echo. It commanded. Step aside, Valari. That human has polluted your code. You must be cleansed. Valara stood firm in front of James, her bare feet glowing where they touched the ancient altar. Her voice was calm but sharp. You called me perfect, you called me rare, but you never called me alive. The figure stepped closer. The crystal cracked under his feet. You were a tool, nothing more. Your beauty, your silence, your skin, crafted for pleasure, not rebellion. James had heard enough. He stepped beside her and stared at the monster. You don't get to decide who she is anymore. The figure tilted his head. You're just a human. Do you know what this place is? No, James said. But I know what it's not. Yours. The figure raised his arm. From the cave entrance they arrived. 5 armored enforcers. Bigger than the bounty hunters from before. Taller. Silent. Made of metal and skin. Their glowing weapons hissed like snakes. Valara whispered, The market's elite, bio-warriors. They protect the Syndicate's secrets. James clenched his fists. They don't look like they want to talk. They don't. They obey. The lead enforcer stepped forward and raised a glowing spear. Subject 017 Valari, you are to be detained. Bonded human will be extracted and processed. James stepped in front of Valara. Come and try. Before the enforcers could strike, the altar pulsed with golden light. The bond, now fully formed, sent out a shockwave. The warriors paused. Confused. The creator frowned. This wasn't supposed to happen. Valara's voice rang through the cave. You made me from stolen DNA, but my soul came from something older, something you couldn't clone. And now? I remember. She closed her eyes, her body began to glow, not red, but white. Pure. Fierce. The altar responded. The crystals floating in the air formed a glowing circle around her and James. The enforcers raised their weapons, but before they could attack, the cave itself moved. Roots shot from the ground, wrapping around 2 of the enforcers and slamming them into the walls. James's eyes widened. The cave, it's helping you. Valara opened her glowing eyes. No, it's helping us. The creator roared. You were built to obey. Valara stepped off the altar. And yet, here I am. The cave trembled again. More roots burst from the floor. The bond symbol on James's arm pulsed like a heartbeat. One enforcer charged. James didn't run. He grabbed a fallen spear, twisted it, and stabbed the enforcer mid-charge. Sparks flew. The creature fell back, its core glowing and twitching. James looked at the weapon in his hands. It responded to his grip, almost like it recognized the bond. Valara smiled. The cave accepts you now. You're part of it. 3 enforcers remained. The creator raised both arms, shouting in a strange language. Dark mist swirled around him, and something massive began to rise from the back of the chamber. James took a step back. What the hell is that? Valara's voice dropped. It's the original guardian, corrupted by him. A creature born from the bond but twisted for control. A beast of muscle, bone, and glowing red veins emerged. Its head scraped the ceiling. Its claws dripped acid. Its eyes were stitched shut. It didn't need to see. It could smell fear. James whispered, Any chance you know how to fight something like that? Valara turned to him. Not alone. She took his hand again. The bond burned brighter. And then, James changed. His heartbeat slowed. His vision sharpened. He felt connected. Not just to her, but to the cave, the light, the roots, the ancient power. Valara's voice echoed in his mind. You are no longer just human, you're a bonded one now. Fight like us." The beast roared. The final battle had begun. The beast's roar echoed through the ancient chamber, shaking the crystal walls and breaking hanging roots. Its huge body moved like a living mountain, muscle layered over black bone, stitched and pulsing with dark red veins. The cave itself seemed afraid. James gripped the alien spear tightly. Sweat dripped down his brow, but his eyes didn't flinch. Across from him, Valara stood still, her body glowing, her hands raised in a defensive stance. But she was trembling. "That thing," she whispered, "was once a protector like me. Twisted into a monster. He calls it the Beast King, but once it had a name. It was my brother." James blinked. "Your brother?" She nodded, eyes filled with pain. "They broke him. I won't let them break you." The Beast King charged. James didn't run. The bond in his wrist flared golden. His body moved, not like a soldier, but like a predator. He ducked under the beast's claw and stabbed upward. The spear hit hard flesh, sending sparks and a spray of black blood. But it wasn't deep enough. The creature howled and threw James across the chamber. He hit the ground hard, ribs cracking. Blood spilled from his mouth. Valara screamed, "James!" But he stood up, slowly, painfully, and smiled. "You'll have to hit harder than that." The creator watched from a ledge above, furious. "You should not be able to stand. Your kind is weak." Valara stepped beside James. "He is not weak. He is bonded." James raised the spear again. The golden light from the bond flowed down the weapon, changing it, twisting it into a shining blade of energy. Valara whispered something in her native tongue. The ground trembled, and vines shot upward, wrapping around the Beast King's legs, holding it still. "Now!" she shouted. James ran forward. He jumped, higher than he ever had before, and brought the blade down, straight into the beast's chest. The Beast King roared, but instead of falling, it burst into flames. Not fire. Memory. Images spilled out. Memories of Valara's brother before he was taken. Before the labs. Before the chains. James dropped to his knees. The beast's body crumbled into light. Valara rushed forward and held her brother's fading spirit. Tears rolled down her cheeks. He looked at her one last time and smiled, then vanished. Only silence remained. James sat against a rock, panting. His ribs were broken. His head spun, but he was alive. Valara knelt beside him. She gently touched his cheek. "You did it," she whispered. James gave a weak grin. Team effort. Above them, the creator growled, "You think this is over? I can make more. Hundreds. Thousands. I built her. I can build another." Valara stood, fire in her eyes. "You didn't build me. You copied what you feared. But the bond, what I share with him, you can't fabricate that." The creator raised a control device. "Then I'll end it myself." He pressed the button. Nothing happened. Valara lifted her hand, and the device crumbled into dust. "You don't control me anymore." The altar behind them flared. The cave began to collapse, not from damage, but from release. The ancient system was letting go. Its last task was complete. James looked up. "Time to go?" Valara nodded. "This place is finished." They ran, together through a tunnel of red crystal, now fading into soft light. The roots, the walls, the ancient cave was saying goodbye. As they reached the surface, the stars of Zelvora shone overhead. Cold wind hit their faces. Freedom. James fell onto the grass, laughing. "I still never got that steak." Valara lay beside him, smiling. "You got something better." He looked at her. She was no longer a rare dish or a product. She was a person, his bonded one. But far above, in the dark orbit of Zelvora, a ship blinked to life. Watching, waiting, recording, because even if the Beast King was dead, the Syndicate was not. The twin moons of Zelvora floated above a quiet meadow. James lay on his back, looking at the stars. His clothes were torn, his body bruised, but his heart full. Valara sat beside him in the grass, her long hair flowing in the soft wind. Her bare feet touched the soil gently, like she could finally feel the planet she was born on. Not as a prisoner, not as a product, but as a person, a free one. James glanced at her. So, what now? Go back to Earth and pretend I didn't almost get eaten, killed, and married in 1 week? Valara smiled softly. You weren't going to be eaten. You sure? That silver plate and sauce said otherwise. She laughed for the first time, really laughed. Her eyes sparkled like the stars. I wasn't meant to be eaten, she said. I was meant to be chosen. And you did. James looked serious for a moment. Valara, I didn't save you because of some ancient bond. I saved you because you looked at me like I mattered. And when you held my hand, I felt like I belonged somewhere for the first time in years. Valara's eyes filled with emotion. She crawled closer and gently rested her forehead against his. In my world, when two minds touch and choose each other, that's not just a bond. She paused. It's a promise. A life one. James swallowed hard. And do you want that? With me? She smiled, eyes shimmering. I already chose. They sat like that for a while. No words, no fear. Just peace. Valara reached out and placed a soft kiss on James's cheek. When I first saw you, I thought you'd leave me like the others. But you didn't. James chuckled. I was too confused to run. No, she whispered. You stayed, because your heart is louder than your fear. He looked at the golden bond mark on his wrist. It glowed faintly, warm and alive. I guess I'm yours now. And I'm yours, she said, laying her head on his shoulder. But peace never lasts long in the galaxy. A low hum filled the air. James sat up. What's that sound? Valara's smile faded. Above the trees, a dark ship lowered, smooth, black, and silent. No lights, no weapons showing. But its presence was cold. Calculated, a small pod detached and landed gently in the grass nearby. Valara stood. From the pod, a figure stepped out, not armored, not armed. A woman, tall, silver-haired, with the same violet eyes as Valara. Valara gasped. Mother? James looked at her, stunned. Your mother? Valara took a step forward, confused. I thought you were gone, they said. The woman held up a hand. There's no time. You activated the ancient bond. That signal woke up everyone. The syndicate, the council, and the old ones sleeping beyond the stars. James frowned. Who are the old ones? The woman looked at him. Those who made the first bonds, and now they want her back. Valara stepped protectively in front of James. I'm not going anywhere. The woman nodded slowly. Then you must prepare. James stood beside her. For what? The woman looked up at the stars. For a galaxy that's about to learn the truth about what love can do. Valara looked at James. I don't want to run anymore. He took her hand. Then let's fight. Together. As the ship rose and the stars grew brighter, the human and the alien girl stood side by side, no longer strangers, no longer prey, but partners, chosen, bonded, ready.